There's a lot of nostalgia that comes with, watching The Cosby Show, in reruns, especially for, my generation, Gen
Sure,
X.
sure.
I mean, it will always be what it was to me.
Mm,
Um, I remember watching it, and I'm like 7 or 8 years old, and I saw Felicia Rashad,
mm.
and I'd never seen anything like her before in my life. I mean, she was just this incredible combination of beauty and grace and class and poise and intelligence and all of these things. I just had never, I mean, in all my 7 years, I'd never seen anything like her
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
But
yeah.
one of the things that I loved so much about the Cosby Show was that they had so many women of her ilk on that show, like Lena Horne and Nancy Wilson, and it was so wonderful to, just be educated subliminally almost through the artwork on the
Yeah,
walls,
man,
and,
yeah,
it just
yeah.
so I mean, the legacy of the show is what it is and will always be what it is to my generation,
Mm,
but the legacy has kind of become a little complicated,
mhm,
for,
mhm.
the obvious reasons. Like, was there a point in which you had to, just kind of reconcile it in a different way, just based on just the controversy that kind of happened around it?
Um,
Well, around its star, I should say.
sure,
'Cause of
so
course you guys were just, like collateral damage to a
yeah,
certain
yeah, to
extent,
a certain extent, yeah.
you know?
When I put out my 3rd record,
Mhm.
Selfless, and I was trying to promote it, right? And on that album, I got Layla Hathaway, I got Lettucey, I got Stokely, from
Stop.
I got Rasan Patterson, I got Robert Glasper. Like this
Mhm.
record is fucking bomb. I could
Is this
not.
the one that you won the, Grammy for?
So this is I put this one out right after winning the Grammy with
Okay.
Robert and Layla,
Okay, yeah.
which is why I put the record out so quick. I was like,
Mhm. Yeah, lightning in a
I got the,
bottle.
yeah, this is it.
Yes.
So it's a dope album. I could not get any press on the album unless
You talked about that.
unless
Mhm.
I answer at least one question.
Mm.
So I do this interview with AP.
Okay.
We do like 25 good minutes on my career, on my music, the whole night. It's a great interview. The last question she asks was um, with all of the controversy surrounding Mr. Cosby, do you think the legacy of the show has been tarnished?
Mhm.
So I responded with, well, of course, the legacy of the show has been tarnished because whenever we would see negative images of black people, there was always the Cosby Show to hold juxtaposed to
Yes.
that. But now that they've taken the show off the air, we don't have that. So the next day, uh, the headline went out. Malcolm Jamal Warner says the legacy of the Cosby Show has been tarnished, and AP put that out. So
Mhm.
then every other outlet
Picked it up.
put that out,
Mhm.
right? Like, um, like there was one outlet. There was only one outlet that gave a fucked up story about my breakup, and
Yeah.
every other outlet picked it up, and
Yeah.
that's what everybody's riding with.
Yeah.
So, um, a few weeks later, I saw Keisha on an interview,
Mhm.
and someone asked Keisha the same thing, and Keisha said the legacy of the show could never be tarnished. She said there's a generation of black kids who went to higher education because of that show,
Facts.
right? There's a generation of black families, uh, who grew up on that show, and they went out to have loving families themselves. So no, there's no way that the legacy could be tarnished. So now I quote her.
Yeah.
Like I saw that, I called. I was like, "Yo, Case," I said, "You got that one."
Mhm.
So
That's a phenomenal answer
yeah,
because it's true. Like I said, I'm the generation where the legacy will be what it is forever and ever and ever, regardless of what happened, because it's part of it's embedded in my DNA.
yes,
You know,
yes, yes.
it
That was
it, it
exactly my
changed my
point.
perception of everything. I learned so much just by watching an episode and laughing, but also just learning so much. It just about things I would never have known about.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Look, I argue, and I will argue tooth and nail that the Huxtables are uh, the blackest family on television.
Mhm.
And they were, and we know one of the criticisms was that, well, that show's not black enough. Black people don't act like that.
Who says?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I mean, there was everything. The only thing that wasn't black about that show is that no one had to act black to be black.
Right.
They just were.
Mhm.
And I think because we have been so conditioned to seeing Black people act a certain way,
Mhm.
especially in comedy.
Mhm.
When you get something that offers you something different, and cuts the stereotypical execution out, some people don't get it.
Mhm.
You know, so yeah, to your point, I think, and again, I will argue tooth and nail that the Huxtables, they're the blackest family
Yeah.
on TV
Yeah.
on every layer.
I would agree with that too. Have you had the opportunity to introduce your daughter to the show? Has she's
Oh,
Yeah? No?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah?
When my daughter was, I think we started watching it when my daughter was like 3 or 4,
Did she
and
recognize you? She's like,
yes, she's like, "That's Papa, that's Papa. Where's Rudy?"
"Daddy!"
So for the longest time, she actually called the show Rudy's Family.
Oh, wow.
So she knew I was on the show,
I mean,
but
Rudy really was like just
of course
yeah.
she would say that because
I
you're
mean, she
that's
was
that's your
just
age. Yeah,
she was just, yeah,
yeah.
the goldfish episode. I
Oh,
mean,
Lamont, yeah. So, but the most surreal thing is my daughter and Keisha's daughter are just a couple of months apart,
mm.
and they're like this.
Oh, that's so
It's
great.
so crazy.
Yeah.
But I remember watching the show with my daughter
Mm.
was surreal in itself. But I also, like, I got, Mr. Cosby's, like he succeeded in what his mission was.
Mhm.
And I remember, again, being on the show, being a teenager, wanting Theo to be cool. So, like, I wanted to use, the slang that we were using at the time. And he would say, no, that's going to date the show.
Mm.
Let's make up our own slang. So when people are watching this 25 years from now, the show will still be relevant.
Mhm.
So I'm watching the show with my daughter and laughing and like, wow, this show is still relevant to this day.
Mhm.
Like, he had that vision
Yeah.
that he wanted this to be a timeless, evergreen show.
Mhm.
And I was like, he succeeded that. That's exactly what he was trying to do.
Yeah, I've heard you talk a lot about learning a lot, especially from his work ethic as well.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how you kind of have applied that over the course of your life.
Yeah. He would do, so we got to the point where, it usually takes 5 days to shoot a sitcom,
Mhm.
at least back then. So we got to the point where we got it down to 4 days.
Mhm.
And Thursday night after we would tape, he would jump on a plane and he would go to either Vegas, Tahoe, Atlantic City, somewhere, and he would do stand up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and he would be the first person back to work on Monday.
Wow.
And this is while having the number one show in the world.
Yeah.
And I watched that and it made me understand, when you are hot, that's when you grind.
Mhm.
Most people, they get, they
They get
get heat.
comfortable and
Yeah,
rest
like,
on
I'm
their
good.
laurels.
No, that's when you stack
Mhm.
all the chips. So again, I'm thinking, got it. So in the times where things aren't so hot, I got my chip stacked. I don't have to go out and make desperate action choices because I gotta pay my bills.
Mhm.
So I really learned a lot from uh watching him. And I've also learned a lot, like, the way the show has affected people.
Mhm.
It's affected me in a lot of ways too, even though I was a part of it,
Mhm.
right? So I grew up watching Cliff and Claire. And again, like, I'm working with Bill and Felicia, right?
Yeah.
I know Mr. Cosby and Mrs. Cosby, but it was Cliff and Claire that, like, that's what I wanted. Like
Mhm.
that is, and I knew it was a show,
Yeah.
but I also felt like, no, but that's also,
It
that's,
looked attainable.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
possible. And again, on my third album, Selfless, there's a song I have called Brand New Day with Lettucey.
Mhm.
And at the end of the last verse, I say, I'm holding out for that iconic love,
Mhm.
like Cliff and Claire.
Yeah.
I met my wife the month after I put that record out.